pleasure to be in the studio, the art studio of my good friend Lorna Livey. Lorna is a professional visual artist in a variety of mediums, including painting and printmaking, amongst others. She is an author, she's a world traveler, she's written a number of books from the outcome of these world travels, and she's also one of the nicest people I know. Oh. You are so kind. I don't think there's one person who's attended so many of performances of my works, and so you're just dear to my heart. So,
thank you, Frank.
So it's a pleasure to have you start our day off, the last day of album release week. No new albums today, people. All 4 albums are out now. And today is all just about fun and getting together with friends. You've had a chance to listen.
Yes.
So what has resonated most for you? Because I haven't even had it, we've been so busy, we haven't even had a chance to ask you. So much music. Is there anything particular that's jumped out at you or caught your attention?
I guess it's your versatility.
Oh.
Your ability to compose different genre of music.
Right.
And some of them are, I think, totally different from the others.
Right.
And I really admire that because I tend to do the same with my art.
Yes.
And I think we're going
to definitely talk about that. Yeah, for sure.
The other thing that I've enjoyed about the music is the let's say softer pieces where I can relax into them. And for me in the evening, I'm a CD person. Right. I don't have the electronic devices to play these things on, but sure. I just relax into a big comfy chair upstairs, and it takes me to a different place, a very relaxed kind of mood, and helps me to forget about the daily cares.
Don't write a letter when you want to leave. Don't call me at 3 a.m. From a friend's apartment, I'd like to choose how I hear the news. Take me to a park that's covered with trees. Tell me on a sun.
I'm really touched that you say that, because actually Lisa and I were having a conversation about this on the subway yesterday, about things that even though there's a lot of variety in a lot of the pieces I write, often one thing that I feel like I try to do in my music is put somebody in a different headspace.
Oh yes,
you know what I mean, and just sort of, not to be too new agey or something, but have a bit of an out of body experience where the music will help accompany that. I think that's becoming more and more important. The contemplation, about life.
And that's where I'm heading with my artwork.
Right.
I've been on a different track, let's say.
Right.
And it's a more contemplative type of art.
Right.
And you'll see that when you walk around.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot in your work lately. Very minimalist.
Minimalist and
almost ambient,
Yeah. And it sometimes need a place to rest our eyes.
Right. Yeah.
Where we can get into the piece just like I get into your music.
How has being an artist helped you through challenging moments in your life, to get through those challenging moments?
It gives me another focus, right. And it's one that is all-encompassing. I can, my head is filled with ideas about the work rather than the other challenges at the time. A number of years ago, a very tumultuous time in my life, and I made a pastel drawing called Blue Flowers for a Blue Lady. And it was a way to get that sadness out.
Yes.
And the title is kind of obvious.
Right,
So.
right. One of the albums that came out this week, The Current Agenda, is very, very aggressive.
Yes.
And it's very experimental and very modern. And it's one of those albums that, you know, you tell people, you can't tell people, there you go. It's one of those albums you can't tell people, hope you enjoy it.
And I found it a challenge to listen to.
You're not the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it's and some of your other music over the years.
Right.
It's really introduced me to things, to music I knew little about.
Right.
And so, you know, it's like an education.
I always think of that album as sort of being like watching a really heart-wrenching documentary.
I was going to say documentary.
You know how people like watching movies multiple times? Mm-hmm. Well, you'll watch that documentary just that once because it'll just stick in your head, you know, and then you don't have to see it anymore, simply because who wants to go into those awful spaces so much? Last night somebody emailed me saying they found that album, quote, very disturbing. I felt bad about that, but you know, subjecting them to that.
But I disagree with the idea of only listening once or seeing a documentary only once.
That's
because, especially with that music, I think I'll need to listen to it multiple times to really understand what's going on.
Right.
It's quite complex.
You see something or you hear something new every time. Just like when
exactly.
you watch a movie multiple times, you'll see it. Or even a piece of artwork. You know, I go to a gallery, and I love going to the AGO maybe 2-3 times a year. And we'll go and we'll just see the same pieces. But it's like, whoa, never noticed that before.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Even though I've seen the piece multiple times, you know. Your artistic voice has changed as you've gone on. And this is something that I do a lot. You know, people just listening this week or now to these 4 new albums, they'll compare them and say, wow, these are really different than each other. So I always felt like we're kindred artistic spirits in that, because we've never felt the need to be limited by...
Be boxed in.
Pigeonholed.
Yeah,
that's the word. Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. Nobody. Yeah. We don't like the fact that somebody's...
She's the lady who does flowers.
For in your world, right?
Yeah.
Or you only do, you know, the minimalist pieces. In this portion of this chat, we are going to take a little mini tour of Lorna's art studio. This is so awesome that we're able to be in her space this morning. So you can maybe show us a few pieces, talk about a few pieces.
You can see on the walls there's lots of different art, and believe it or not, it's all mine. I go from very fine detailed work, as in this drawing here. This was an illustration for one of my books.
Right.
The little tomatoes, salt and pepper shaker.
Right.
And then I reinterpreted it as a painting. So if you go over to this one, it's actually the same subject matter, but in a different media. And then the new series, well, it's new, but I've been working up to it for 7 years.
Right.
It was inspired by my traveling and the views from airplane windows. So here we have a painting of the wing of an airplane with the sky in the background. And then as I did this series, I realized that the sky in the background had an interesting, you know, the colors in the sky are compressed when you're high up.
Right.
So I took out the clouds that I was putting in some of the pieces, or I didn't put any more in, and the works became very abstract almost.
Exactly. Well, you know what? It's almost like, for me, that's the most vivid part. Being a minimalist composer by heart, I tend to be very grasped by minimalists, and so for me that's the most gripping part of that painting. And now, do you find that doing that piece that eventually led to a lot of the minimalist, more ambient pieces you're doing recently?
So I've been preparing these pieces. I'm in a show at the Convention Center with Open Studio. It's a printmaking studio I have an association with for many years.
Right.
So I've encapsulated, put them in plastic to protect them. But they turned from skies and basically horizontal pieces into some of them now have become vertical. And
fabulous.
They're totally abstract.
That's beautiful.
And then the light through a window.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
So this is one of the first where I started to use both the vertical and the horizontal.
Right.
A good friend, Greg, said to me, Lorna, these are wonderful, but they would look even better big. So I got into big, and I had to go to use the press at Open Studio.
Right.
Mine is much too small.
Right.
And when we talk about big, we're talking...
Wowsies.
We're talking 4 times the size.
That's amazing.
So here we have...
Oh, this is stunning. Stunning. Like, I don't know if everyone at home can really... by just the video here, if they can really, well, now they'll see because they see how tall you are. That is, oh, wow.
I can't even, well, maybe if I bring it this way.
Yeah, here we go.
Hello.
Hello, look how large this is. I'm leaving your studio. I have to go out the door to get this all in the picture. What a beautiful piece.
So,
I love this. I love the, you know what I love most about this piece is how you sort of shade or have a morphing from, say, the white into the blue. It's so very just... I'm not a visual artist. I don't know what technical terms you would use, but you know what I mean? It's just this morphing where it's almost like you can't see the line go. And this is why I think visual art is a big inspiration for me musically, because often I think about those types of things, like morphing a sound where you can't hear it switching one type of sound to another type of sound. It just morphs into it, and that's a big. I think that's where I get these ideas from.
This particular series, I refer to it as my glow series.
Right.
Because I try to make those colors glow, especially the white, or if it's a cream color. The one that's on the counter there.
Yes.
A different, making those that light yellow glow, making the middle glow. You notice I had a lot of trouble handling it myself.
It's so large.
But when I do it at Open Studio, I'm doing it myself. I'm handling the paper, I'm rolling the ink. I go on Sundays, and I work for 12 hours. And I get into, a friend, Greg, came to take photographs. And he said, you changed, Lorna. He said, you go into a zone when you're doing this. And I said, yes, I do. Because it's a very repetitive. I'm using a roller.
Right.
And I'm doing blends with the roller.
Right.
So I put out the ink on a palette, and then I use the roller to blend. And you talked about the melding of your music.
Right.
So by rolling this and moving it, I can create blends with the colors so that I don't get sharp lines.
Amazing. I want to ask you now a little bit about something different in your artistic output, and that is writing. You have written 3 books now?
Yes.
On your travels and the emotional reasons why you did that.
And 2 of them are available through Amazon.
Right.
The 3rd one is in process. It's all written. I actually have a 4th one, the first draft done. So
you are prolific. Yeah, you're like me again.
I've been on these 6 major trips. I go to escape Canadian winter. They started out being 4 weeks, and now they're up to 6. For me, I go alone.
Interesting.
I go alone.
Yeah.
And that's how the writing started. My first trip was 6 years ago to Bali.
Right.
And I had taken some notebooks, and for me, the notebooks as I traveled became my companion.
Right.
So I could sit and be in a space where people were eating in a restaurant, and it's always, you know, they're always with other people.
Right.
I had my book as my notebook.
Right.
So I'd be waiting to eat, and I'd be, you know, I'd be writing. So I kept writing as I traveled. And then when I get home, I combine the travel experiences with my other life experiences.
Right.
So it's sort of travel writing meets memoir.
Interesting. Yeah. So thank you so much, all of you, for joining us. Thanks,
Okay.
Lorna.
Yeah.